So good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Darren Adair with American Hospitality Consulting. Welcome to Great Minds Session 13, our first Great Minds of 2022. Happy New Year to all of you. I know I've talked to some of you since the new year, but officially on a Great Minds Sessions, welcome and Happy New Year to you all. Thanks for being here. So tonight, what I wanted to do is kind of, I called it 2021, a year in the rearview mirror. And that kind of came from, something that Warren and I saying we had when we were in university. It was our last year at Ryerson, and it was happiness is Ryerson in the rearview mirror. You know, you're that fourth year, you're working on your final projects, you can see your future ahead of you, and you just kind of want to put it behind you. And a little tongue in cheek, because as much as 2021, it was supposed to be the new normal. It was supposed to be get us out of this. It was supposed to be a lot of things. And, for a lot of people, it may not have been what you had hoped it would be. But there was a lot of things that came out of 21 that we could have and should have learned from. And that's what I really wanted to focus on is, what did we learn from 2021? And what are we doing to make 2022 the best year ever? Because there's really can be no more of this, I'll just wait for things to get back to normal. We know pretty sure now that it's not going to happen, right? But it just means change. And change isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? We're evolving, we're growing. And I know in the hospitality industry, there's some great things that I have seen come forward. And we've talked about a lot of those things through the first 12 sessions that are good for our business. But I really wanted to get everybody on the call and just talk about what were the key things you learned from 2021 and what are the changes that you've made and how you've used that information to make sure that 2022 is going to be your best year yet. And that's really what I want to focus on, is looking to the future. You can't forget the past, but if you dwell on it, it's just, you're not going to move forward. So that's what I wanted to focus on. Let's talk about how we've learned and what we're doing to move forward. And I'll quickly start. Like I said, this year has started off for me very busy, kind of the busiest start to a year I've had in a while, which is great. I spent the first few days of 2022 in Vegas on a business trip, which first time I've been on a business trip in several years. It was awesome. Joined a new team, developed some new partnerships, working with a group, America's Best Restaurants, and helping them grow their platform, and then partnered with a new company, not a new company, but a relaunch of an old company that's now a new company called Franovation with Angeli Brown. And I know Angeli is supposed to be here a little later today. So she just launched that this past week. So some great new partnerships, some wonderful things that I'm still doing that I'm doing from the past. It's all because I have listened to Grant Cardone, whether you like him or not, and no quit. Keep focusing on the future, keep driving forward, don't give up, and things are going to start to happen. And that's what I'm seeing. So that's the thing that I've taken from 2021 and what I'm going to try and utilize in 2022. But I would love to hear from you guys. And, I can kind of start at the top. And for those of you who were on Panelists last year, thank you for being here. I'd love to hear from you. What have you learned in your business? And Mr. Rixman, if it's okay, since you're not on mute and in the top right corner in front of me,
Where's that mute button? Where's that mute button?
Yeah.
2021 was a blur. I think it's kind of like the forgotten year, whether you want to forget it or not. It went fast for me anyway.
Yep.
I was just starting to write down some things. I like that no quit. I've always been a big fan of, pushing through as much as you can. What I'm hearing from my customers, the restaurant groups, is and sounds very cliche. A lot of what I'm going to say right now, but it's the whole do more with less mentality. Just because staffing is at it's crazy. People are struggling for any number of reasons. I was reading an article today saying, is this the, we were all afraid of the boomer retirement, the big retirement that would cause this, labor crisis. Maybe that's happened, but there's all kinds of issues that are happening there. But I think we're really having to do more with less, with less people. And then to follow up on that cliche is the work smarter, not harder, right? So, but it's the balancing act between, hey, you know what? Yeah, bring in new technology, which I'm all for because that's what I do. But it's also like bring in more technology, but now you're going to rock the boat with your staff and risk, getting them, they're always bringing in new stuff and to replace us or to make our lives more difficult. I don't want to bother with this. And so we risk rocking the boat of, with some of the new things that we're doing. So it's a trying time. It's very challenging for sure. Turnover's huge. I think people are longing for consistency. So when you're coming into work and that you're trying to introduce new tech, maybe that's not what your team really wants. They don't want change right now, but it's a balancing act. It's really an interesting time.
Yeah, no, and those are good points. And like I said earlier, and you just said change, it can be a good thing. It can also be a very stressful thing. So it's how you implement that. I agree that technology is definitely something that our restaurants need to get more into. I think the pandemic has pushed us forward 10 years from where we were, but we were about 20 years behind. So we still got a lot of room to move in that aspect. But it's got to be the right things. And when I was in Vegas at the beginning of the year, we went to this one bar, and it was on the corner beside Planet Hollywood, and it was a bar where you could use a robot to make your own drink. So I had a bunch of friends who went over to start using this robot, and they've been there for 10 minutes trying to figure. You got drunk people trying to make their own drink with a robot. I went to where there was actually a bar, and in 3 minutes got my own drink. So technology's got to be right. It's got to be the right fit for the business. I mean, as novel as that is, and I mean, it's just getting started. We definitely need to look at what are the right things for our business. And there's been some great innovations, some really good innovations, that are truly helping to move things forward, and to do that, like you said, work smarter, not harder, and give you that balance, because you don't have the time to spend in the office. You're on the floor. So what's going to help me do my job easier and faster?
Yeah, I don't think you definitely can't understate the importance of relationship with your staff, though. They really, I don't know. I don't even know how to word this properly, but with any technology, you have to, you really have to concentrate on the relationship for them to being a part of the business, them understanding exactly why things benefit them. But it's not just, it's no longer staff like, oh, that's my 7 to 3 shift person. They are a part of the team, and you really have to, I think, concentrate on that. And I do have some really good, a number of the good the franchisees that we deal with,
Right.
that they stand out, and you see the pictures of their team and the celebrations that they have. And I really think people want to be part of a community and at work as well. And so it's going to be interesting to see who wins the labor war to get the staff, because I don't know, it's just going to be interesting.
And I think that's a good point. It's, the places that are doing a good job of making their team feel like part of the team, genuinely, that they're respected and appreciated, are going to be doing a little bit better. So some good points there. I want to continue kind of on the technology thing, and I'm going to move on to somebody else. One of the things that I have been dealing a lot with in the last year, and really have seen the impact that it has, is a lot of our restaurants have no idea the importance and how to build a database of their guests, right? And to utilize that information, and just even on the opportunity of being short-staffed or out of something, if you can communicate with them and let them know ahead of time, the more you can talk to them, the more you can touch your guests, the better relationship you're going to build. And Frank, I'll come over to you, because you're a technology guy who also believes in building databases. But are you seeing a change to where people are getting a little bit more understanding of how important that is, and what needs to be done?
Yeah, without a doubt. What we learned last year was that we're underpriced, which is really strange to say out loud. And we're not going to increase our prices, but because of the pandemic, because of the need for a no-touch digital technology, because we own the first-party data that funnels through our system to the restaurateur. And you add on top of that the labor shortages. Um, we've built an incredible board, as you've seen, and having seen our technology, we've continued to build it. And what we have figured out very quickly is that what Doug said, doing more with less, when you can provide a professional body to a restaurateur and do the work for them, we've been told numerous times we could be 2, 3, 4 times our price, and people don't say no. So having gone through the process with an extraordinarily large company that serves your vertical, they took one look at our technology, and even operators were thinking, well, this can't be right. It's easy. And easy works. And most of them, one of the board members from the organization owns a restaurant as well as being the service provider. And with the technology they use today, thinking that they were ahead of the game, I asked him a couple of questions and he didn't have a clue, which it kind of fed into what we do. So I showed him a couple of things on our platform and you could see his eyes just light up. And he said, we're at least 2 or 3 generations ahead of the technology that they've even thought about. So being able to help a restaurateur, and again, as you and Doug have both said, building that community, the importance of having a shared platform where everybody engages their own customers, no matter what vertical you're in, and you've got a shared pool of consumers that look at that local business, there's nothing more important than that. And what we figured out is more technology is needed. Now, granted, we've written over 10 million lines of code built in close by. We're writing more because we've identified a couple of other sweet spots where the engagement with our technology is that simple, but we continue to simplify it for the restaurateur because all they need to know is, this is what I show somebody and I'm off to the races.
Nice. Yeah, and I think, being able to communicate that, and there's still some trepidation and concern because, like you said, you talked a bit about pricing, and we're seeing everything go up right now anyways, and all different levels. And the fact that, you need to be cognizant of when you're doing that kind of stuff because restaurants are seeing it all these different sides to be able to get into the market. But, it's just really still that fear of, like Doug said earlier, the change. And is it the right thing in the right time? And it seeing beyond the adding the technology, starting to see here's a positive impact it's going to have. And that's really where they kind of get hung up. And I'm sure we've all seen that. Just a reminder, if you've got, with the group we've got on here, if you do have any questions or comments based on anything that we're talking about, just unmute yourself, go ahead and jump in, or you can throw a quick little comment in the chat, and more than happy to bring you on from there. So, I'll talk a little bit just to see for Chef, Warren, have you guys had to make any adjustments based on what you've seen in 2021 to better prepare the people who are going to come up, the students that are coming out of the education system to work in this industry, to be, ready to jump in and deal with these changes?
I think from educational perspective and looking at chefs, it comes down to I think making students aware of what's going on in the industry, what changes are happening. They coming into a college system university setting, they are used to a certain style of restaurant. now that now that's flipped on its head, because now a lot of them are laid off. They can't find the positions. There are some restaurants that are not hiring, not even part-time staff. So what do? They kind of have to create their own opportunities. I've had a few students who have gone on to create their own taking the entrepreneurial perspective. There's but it's I think it's being aware of what's happening in the industry. And I put something on LinkedIn, a post the other day that I think for us as educators, we are in the key position to influence some of these younger minds coming into the industry, because they will be the ones driving all the changes that we're talking about. They will be the ones driving the technology. They will be the ones driving, connecting with customers, the communication. I try and get my students to look at how technology is going to evolve. I try to get my students to look at how communicating with your potential clients is going to evolve, as well as how restaurant models may evolve. I think you made the point earlier that we've jumped 10 years ahead, but I still think that there's more change to come in the next few years. So, the next set of students coming in, they're going to be exposed to what I hope is going to be the flip side of the pandemic soon, but they're going to be exposed to a new style of restaurant, and maybe some of the old style as well. But there's going to be definitely a hybrid situation happening. What that looks like, we'll see.
Right. No, and I like that, and I agree with that, because some of the stuff that I've been doing as I'm looking around, I'm seeing that, and maybe this is my misconception in the way things were many years ago, where if you go and you become a chef, you're expecting to come out working in a fine dining type of establishment, whereas now you've got all these classically trained chefs who are getting into so many different types of food preparation that it's at all different levels and providing amazing food. It's in the fast casual space, it's in the vegan space, it is in all these different areas, which is great, because now we're getting, it's going beyond that processed and getting some really good quality items that everybody can enjoy. Are you seeing some of that?
Yeah, but I think as well that restaurants have to be prepared to pivot again, because I think that a lot of restaurants did quite well to adapt to technology, meal delivery, meal packaging, but I think that the dining public is going to get fatigued. I think maybe if they're not fatigued already, by the whole, food delivery and curbside pickup. I'm sure once spring hits, what's going to happen, right? The patios are going to get flooded. Once we're on the flip side of this pandemic and no more lockdowns, I think there's going to be a massive influx of dining out and people wanting to dine out again, and enjoy that type of eating at restaurants.
Right.
So now how that's going to look, coupled with increasing prices and inflation and a reduction in staffing levels, we'll see. But
Right.
I think customers are going to be looking for that dining experience again.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I mean, we're seeing that down here. I know, Frank, I'm sure you've seen that down where you are, and Kelly, I know you've seen it. I mean, down in the US, there's less restrictions. And when they first released those restrictions, we saw the influx of people wanting to go out and eat at the restaurants and just socialize again, right? So It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I don't know if any of you saw, I only saw a quick piece of it, but I guess beginning of February, the UK is removing all restrictions because it's time to get back to normal. So I haven't read the whole article. I don't know everything that it said. It was the headline that I saw before I got into this. But, you know, are we going to see more of that? Right? You know, I don't want to go down the whole COVID rabbit hole because we can argue that all night long and it's not what we're here for. But it's just, you know, there's lots of things that could happen and lots of ways things can go. So it'll be very interesting to see what comes of it. So thank you, Chef. Appreciate it. I'll let her finish taking a sip and then I'm going to move on. I mentioned that one of the spaces I saw a lot of growth in was the vegan, the plant-based space. One of the newest contributors to Great Minds Session, and I had the pleasure of having her on my anniversary show, and then we did a Great Minds mini last week. So Kaylee with Nona Vegan, who has changed my mind on some things, but we are seeing a big growth in this sector of more vegan options, full restaurants, at restaurants. You know, and we talked a little bit about this before, but, you know, has the pandemic or is what's been going on this past year helped move that forward? Are people just looking for something new, or what do you think has been that? And what are some of the things that you've taken away from that? Because I know you announced something pretty exciting the last time we chatted for your 2022. So.
Yeah, I definitely think with sorry, I mute my alerts. I definitely think since COVID, people are, you know, they're cooking more at home, they're watching more documentaries about the environment and animal welfare, and they're digging into, they're getting a little more interested in what they're eating and what they're feeding their families and what they're ordering from restaurants. And I mean, here in Toronto, there's been massive growth of vegan establishments popping up everywhere. I think I don't think that's just Toronto. You know, Beyond Meat is at every A&W now. A lot of McDonald's are introducing a vegan burger now. You know, like it's getting quite mainstream, and I think that is here to stay. I don't think that's a trend. I think, you know, people are getting interested in what they're eating. And so for me, having a vegan food business, that definitely works in my favor. Yeah, in 2021, I definitely noticed an uptick in interest from, I'll talk about restaurant buyers because it's mostly the space, I think, grocery buyers as well, but restaurant buyers wanting it, my sauces in bulk for their restaurants. It's like, I used to have to be like, it's really, really good. It's really Italian. It's really authentic. It's going to make your food prep so easy for your line cooks. And it also happens to be vegan. And now it's like, I can lead with the vegan. I can lead with the plant-based. And that's what people are actually looking for. Like I actually do plant-based food shows where people are coming to look for that. So that's pretty cool, I think. And interesting that people are turning that way. Yeah, I think as far as lessons for me personally, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I have a very small team, but like, you know, like people have said earlier, I think Doug was saying, you know, work smarter, not harder. I think sometimes as an entrepreneur, I'm like, I gotta muscle through all of this. Like I gotta carry all my own cashews on my shoulders and go on the TTC. And like, I gotta be this tough business broad. And it's like, no, you know, COVID has made me not have to be doing that and doing all these food festivals and all these things that can be kind of distracting for me, because I'm like, ooh, a food festival, I want to do that. Ooh, a fun interview opportunity, I want to do that. You know, it's made me kind of laser focus in on the actual business and the core of my business. And so that was my biggest personal takeaway.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Johnny K, I wanted to come to you because, you know, one of the things that I was very happy to see through this last year is a lot of restaurant companies were able to maintain growth and open new locations, which with all the challenges that are going on, it's really encouraging to see. There's that lovely face. There he is. It's really,
I got multiple screens on, sorry.
There you go. It's very encouraging to see all the different brands and independents that have opened up right at the beginning of this or during this. It just shows you that there's still a lot of hope, and we need to focus on those things. So, what are some of the things that you guys have taken from, what we've gone through in 2021 and to prepare yourselves to continue to grow into 2022? Because I know you've opened some new sites very recently.
We have, and we're going to continue to focus on that. It's overcoming that adversity, overcoming that understanding of, okay, we can't let the pandemic continue to hinder progress. We can't let the pandemic handcuff us. So how do we continue to work around that, work with our franchise partners, and move forward, right? We've got every precaution in place. We've got every, objective that we want as an organization. And, we've got the right template, we've got the right branding, we've got the right people finally in place. So it's a matter of continuing to work with the right partners and, overcoming that mindset of, okay, do we need to move to a takeout only? Sure. We're lucky enough as a brand that we can do that, right? Even though we do offer sit down many a time. But that being said, is it hindering? I don't think it has, right? From our sales growth, we've been very fortunate, right? Through this past year. You take a look at, other competitors who have in dining seating, and, they're not as, if I can use the term, progressive, because, they've got chairs up and, again, we're at fault for that to a point as well, where, we get ahead of ourselves with regards to, okay, restrictions in this province versus restrictions in that province. We don't want to start playing that game. So if we're going to make a change, we make a change system wide. And I think that has truly helped us. And again, our customer base is quick in and out, right? They know they come in, they're not wanting to hang out and sip a coffee or hang out and chat about the week with friends. They want to come in, grab their product, grab their smoothie, grab their panini, and off they go, right? So I think that's the other benefit that we've had as an organization and as a brand, and the resiliency that we've also displayed going through.
Nice. And that resiliency word, Trina couldn't be with us tonight, but I did have her on talking about, resiliency and resilient traits and the ability to see those things within yourself to help yourselves move forward. So some good points there, Johnny. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Darren,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry,
Jeff.
can I just piggyback on what John was saying? I think it's great that that restaurants have found ways to create that resiliency. And it depends. I think it greatly depends on the type of restaurant, depends on the market, depends on maybe the neighborhood that you're in. I read about one restaurant in Ottawa that, they went to complete, it's a upscale casual restaurant, and they went to a complete delivery model, and they were seeing sales greater than like almost pre-pandemic levels, and they brought back all their staff, and they were doing well. I have another colleague that has a restaurant downtown Toronto, tried to do the food delivery model, curbside pickup, but his particular clientele is not, they're not that food delivery, food pickup type of clientele. So I think I just observed that it seems to be slightly different depending on the type of operation, depending on the type of restaurant, the type of food that's being produced in the operation and your clientele. So that's just something I wanted to throw out there.
No, that's a good point. And, I'll ask you a question on that then. Is that an opportunity? Because I know I did a show on this earlier last year. Is that an opportunity for those restaurants who are maybe in that situation to take a look at, is there a ghost concept that I could get into that's going to help me to keep my staff working, maybe utilize some of the food stuff that I currently have and keep relevant?
Yeah, I'd say that some operations, I I think it comes down to one, the ambition. Maybe it takes a little bit of creativity. There are restaurants. I think those restaurants that have maybe multiple locations may have a better ability to transition into a ghost kitchen operation. So, for example, Pie Restaurant downtown Toronto, I believe they have 2 locations. It could be 3, but I know for sure that they took one operation, turned it into a ghost kitchen concept, and they were able to sustain themselves. Going through the pandemic. They started this at the beginning of the pandemic. Yeah, I think for some operations, the ghost kitchen concept, maybe it's just not feasible for whatever reason. Maybe they just don't have the manpower, the connections to make it happen. Whereas
Right.
other operations, can pivot quite easily. Like I mentioned, Pie, and there were 2 more in Toronto, downtown Toronto. I forget the names right now, but they also went to a ghost kitchen concept, yeah, I think they're doing okay. They're surviving. Let's put it that way.
Right. I know, Frank, you've got a question, but so if you want to unmute and come on in, but on that a little bit, Warren, there are some other newer companies that came up through this. I mean, we've all seen ghost kitchens. I know I had George Curtis on earlier last year talking with there, and we've seen what they've been doing and the new brands they're adding and the growth that they're having in different markets in Canada and the US. But there's also companies out there that will help you put those into your existing business. Right. And that was, that's one of the new things that I saw come up that I thought had some good potential. But Frank, what was your question?
Yeah, the question I had, because I'm not involved in day-to-day the way you guys are. One of your first 2 or 3 episodes, the topic was the delivery companies and the fact that they were taking 30%, and that a lot of restaurateurs didn't realize that they were actually losing money because they weren't able to dig into their finances. Have you seen a change in that? I mean, are a lot of these restaurateurs still getting hammered?
There's a lot of discussion about, putting in legislation on maximums for fees and that kind of thing. It's kind of both sides, to be honest, because I've talked to guys who, can't do it. It's taking too much. You can adjust your pricing for your online ordering. Like, it doesn't have to be the same price that you have in store. So there's different ways to do it. If you're a larger group, you can usually negotiate something. I know Tim Hortons has done that with the ones that you're using. But I have a friend down here who works with a pretty big pizza company in Canada and the US. And pizza companies do their own delivery for the most part. They are also connected to 5 different delivery services, and it's $3 million in sales a year across their restaurants. I mean, how do you not? Because the one thing that I did talk about in that show, as much as there is a cost to it, what you are doing is you're helping yourself stay relevant, and you're allowing your guests who can't get to you be able to get to you, right? And they're going to remember that. They're going to start, if they have to start ordering from somebody else because they can't go out and eat and they can't get it from you, what's the first? They may come to you after, but hey, we've been eating this, it's really good. Let's go see what the restaurant's like, right? You could actually lose somebody. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. The fees are crazy. There may be some legislation coming in, but at the same time, I called it in that show a necessary evil. I still think that there is some need to do it. There's other ways to get around it. I mean, you can create your own, there is software you can get for your restaurants that will allow you to do your own delivery, right? And have ordering through your website and that kind of thing. There's obviously liabilities and that kind of stuff you have to look at, but there's different ways to get into it to help you stay relevant. So if anybody else wants to share anything on that, but that's kind of my take on it.
Definitely from my customer base, which is generally more QSR, the premium pricing is definitely, they're seeing premium margins on that business. And it depends on the demographic that you're serving too. But, neighbor's friend here, like we're in a small town, and, really their daughter is, doing dine and dash all the time. It's just that generation is like 16, 15, 16 years old. And yeah, sure, we'll just do dine and dash. And they love that service. Now, it's not for everyone, but I think it's not going to be, they've found ways to be profitable doing it. Maybe for the one of the independents might be a little bit harder, but or they may be less inclined to increase price, because usually as an entrepreneur, you're always very cognizant of your price and you want to be very careful with it. And you're afraid to raise it. But I think we just need to get over that sometimes. And people that want your product, like you said, if they go somewhere else and the other people, then they learn to like that stuff, then they might go that way in the future. But
yeah. And I've got a 26-year-old or almost 26-year-old, and I've had McDonald's delivered to my front door, and I'm like, dude, you just paid $30 for 2 double hamburgers. Like, tell me, I'll drive you there and you can buy me something, and it'll only cost you $20. I don't know. Anyways, or pay me for gas. I don't need to eat any more of that kind of stuff, but that's a whole different story. Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many different things that have come up, and I think we're going to see, Warren, to your point, things are going to, start moving forward. I'm really excited or not excited, but interested, curious to see what's going to happen if what the UK is doing is actually what's happening, and then we're going to start seeing that in North America, and what's going to come out of it. And I think the reason I started this back in December of 2020 was because, when Johnny mentioned resiliency, and Warren, you talked about resiliency, it was those restaurants that were finding ways to stay relevant, that were finding ways to continue to connect with their guests, that were saying, I'm not going to throw in the white towel. We're going to figure out a way to get through this. And it goes off to my first point at the beginning where I talked about don't quit. Right. And these are the restaurants that have been able to be successful. They're still around. And it's not that it would have worked for everybody, but that was really the reason why I wanted to do this, because these are the stories and ideas that we need to share as a community. As big as the hospitality industry is, it is a tight-knit community. I mean, go on your LinkedIn and see how many people that are connected from a variety of different companies that, you don't know how they're connected, right? It's a big business, but it's a small business. And I've met people from around the world where I've talked to and says, oh, I talked to a guy last week in Vegas, booked him for an episode. He said, what he said to me, it kind of upset me. He said, you sound like you're from Minnesota. And I'm like, I'm actually from Canada, but I said, oh, where are you from in Canada? This is a guy in Vegas. I said, well, I'm from Winnipeg. Oh, I used to play hockey in Flin Flon. And I went to university in Mankato, Minnesota. Like, the world is getting smaller and we're getting more connected. And it's just, there's some great ways to stay connected and to share positive stories. And that's really what I was hoping to do through all this. So, and that's why I wanted to do today. I wanted to see what have we got to help us move positively forward. Mike, if you don't mind, I'm going to come over to you. Happy New Year. It's been a while since we've seen each other. Any big learnings from 2021 that you're going to be bringing forward into your 2022 and to make it the best year possible?
Hi, Darren. We got to look at everything, obviously, with the increase in all the prices, significant increase, all of our proteins, pretty much everything has gone up. And also, our labor's gone up significantly in Ontario. The wage rate for servers and bartenders went up $2.45 effective January 1st. That's just what it is. So we're looking at everything. We're continuing to work with our suppliers. We don't want to change any quality. We don't want to change portion sizes. We've been successful for a long period of time, 11 years now, doing what we do. And that's just delivering great food, the best quality we can offer, and being able to treat our staff and our guests well, so they continue to keep coming back, both of them. And I'm saying both of them because it's a real challenge right now. Getting staff, we paused our business for a while, and then we brought it back October 1st, and then it's paused again because of local Ontario-wide restrictions. But I think we're smarter, although some people looking at us have trouble understanding why we're still here. But I've been doing this for a long time. It's what I love, and there's a lot of people doing the same thing. The biggest opportunity, I'm involved in the Provincial Restaurant Association here. The biggest opportunity we have is to try and encourage people that are looking for career paths to choose this business. And up until 2020, we had a number of people looking at all different kinds, whether it's part-time, management, and all those kinds of things. Now, this is going to be our most significant challenge. The other part of it is I'm involved as an associate professor at one of the colleges here, and they're having some challenges, even though they've got a very good program, getting people
looking back
interested, involved.
2021, and what you learned to move your business forward.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. Keep going, Mike. You're good.
So that's the biggest opportunity for us now is trying to figure out how we manage our pricing to be able to cover the costs of our cost of goods sold, as well as our labor. So we're, again, working with our suppliers, looking at other options. The comments with regards to vegan opportunities, we're fortunate we've got a very good, talented chef. To be honest with you, other than, I'm sorry, the young lady that has the product that she offers, doesn't include a lot of stuff that some products have with regards to the vegan opportunities. And our chef makes his own vegan burger from scratch without a bunch of all the additives that are happening in some particular restaurants. So we're looking at some vegan opportunities. I run a steakhouse and a deli. So, protein, meat, that's the basis of it, but there's certainly more call now for vegan items. And I thought the presentation that was done, your last one, Darren, was right on point. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, and you should connect with Kaylee, because this Prairie Boy, Meat and Potato Boy has had some of her stuff, and it is, it's not the impression we used to get in our minds when you heard that word. It's just good, wholesome food. We talked about it before, and it was kind of like, I grew up in an area of Winnipeg where there's a lot of Ukrainian and Italian families. And I go over to my friend Vonda's place, and her mom was always stuffing food in my face, right? But you can taste and feel that there was love put into the product, right? And I think the comfort foods that people are looking for, those are the types of things they're looking for. So, just to throw in a little plug there for Kaylee, I'm getting that out of the stuff that I've had. But that's one of the neat things and one of the positive changes, of course, that, these are the things that make us feel good. And if it can make us feel good and also be healthier, even better, right?
And
so,
Darren,
yeah,
and Mike, so you talked about price of proteins going up and the like, and the last couple of years, with especially being in Ontario, like I think a number of us are, with lockdown, shutdown, whatever you want to call it, many people became pretty proficient at cooking at home. Do you think there will be a number of people who will dine out less because they've become somewhat proficient at home? And will that balance with the people that are absolutely tired of cooking at home? And what kind of balance do you think we'll see in the restaurants because of that dynamic?
That's a really good question. And I've kind of talked about this a little bit before. You know, I think the Food Network ratings were the highest ratings over the last 2 years. They had to have been, because that's all I watched. And it got me into I'm going to experiment with this. And I mean, you know, I haven't had the training that chef has had, but, you know, I did have some food training when I was going to university, and I love to cook. So, you know, I all of a sudden get up and start playing in the kitchen and trying different things. So I think there is some of that, Doug, and I think there's going to be those who want to try some of that. But I think there's also, you know, because so many of us are working at home now, having the opportunity to get out of the house. Like I've had meetings with people where their kids are home because, you know, they're doing distance learning and we're trying to have a meeting and they're constantly apologizing. And I'm like, dude, you don't have to apologize, you know, and I'm laughing, not because I'm laughing at them. I'm laughing because I don't have to deal with little kids anymore and you do. But it's the reality, right? And I think we are going to see, like Warren said, as things open up, especially at the beginning, you're going to have that everyone running out. They want to socialize. They want to get out. They want to get to the patios. In Canada, we get to patios anyways as soon as it gets warm outside. Heck, we get there in the winter time in Winnipeg. You know, guys will pull their sleds up to the local bar and sit outside and have a beer in the patio. So, you know, that's just, I think we'll see some of that. But it is a fair point that, you know, some people might be starting to do more at home because they've had to be more creative and learn how to do that, and they're enjoying it. And we'll probably see some new companies come out of that. And we already have, right? People who are cooking at home. How many people have gotten into, how many cookie companies do you see online now where people are making cookies at home and sending them out? Hell, my wife went through that at Christmas time. The whole house was a freaking cookie place. So yeah, I think we will see a mixed bag of that, but I don't think one will outweigh the other. You know, I'm happy to listen to anybody else's thoughts on that.
Darren, I think that just to reiterate, I think that yes, there will be a shift in dining habits, but you know, to Mike's point as well about managing cost of goods, labor cost. You know, I think you know, and as well, you know, with wages going up, I think that you know, operators should be, I'm sure that they will have to be aware of consumer expenditure. You know, when we look at inflation, look at prices going up, gas has gone up. I put gas in my wife's car the other day. It was $100. It's never been $100 in all my life, right? You know, when you look at, I'm not sure what the latest news is on interest rates, but you know, all these different things are going to impact what consumers are willing to spend in terms of their disposable income. You know, when you look at, you know, they're going to have all the things that they have to pay for, like rent and mortgage and whatever else, and then they have to pay for heat. You know, but when it comes to maybe dining out, that discretionary income is going to shrink, I think. You know, because, you know, okay, so do they decide to go out to dinner or do they decide to go to a movie? What is going to be the most useful or create the most value for their dollar? Is it like going out for a nice meal, or do we do, you know, do we eat something light or cook at home, or you know, so to manage the money, that the little money that they're going to have in the next year. So yeah, looking forward to 2022, but I have a feeling that there's going to be a little bit of a pinch when it comes to the discretionary income. There was an article actually just came out that talked about burger sales. I think QSR burger sales have gone up, which I found interesting. So, you know, I think there's going to be, you know, as well as understanding how to pivot, it's going to be operators are going to have to be aware as to how to connect with their customers to get that little bit of discretionary income that they have left over.
No, good points. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but Chef wins the award for the first person and second person to use the word pivot in the conversation. So
That's something I try and avoid, actually.
5:20 p.m. and 5:51. Way to go, Warren. Good job. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing. But it's a fair point, because there is going to be some of that. We are seeing inflation, and it's happening everywhere. And somebody just sent me a picture today. It was Portage la Prairie, Manitoba. And the only meat left on the shelf was a whole bunch of sausage. And I don't know why it was the only thing left on the shelf, but their whole meat section was completely decimated, right? So there's going to be so many things that impact your decision of whether you're going out or whether you're staying home. Money's going to be part of it, but availability, right? And hopefully we don't get to the point. I don't know if anybody has seen this yet, but a buddy of mine who runs a car repair shop is saying, it's taking us 6 to 8 weeks to get parts to repair somebody's car. So if your car gets written out or smashed up by a deer and you can't drive it, you're waiting almost 2 months to get it repaired. But if you want to pay a little bit more, we can get you that part in 2 weeks. Right. And I'm hoping we're not going to see that. I mean, maybe it's legit. Maybe it's, they've only got so many and they're whatever, but it's going to be interesting. There's lots. It's the beginning of the year. There's been a lot of change already. There's going to be a lot of change coming. I don't think it's all bad. I think there's a lot of good things that have happened. And I think, we've definitely had some great shares here on things that we've learned and are going to be working on to make 2022 the best year yet. Nasli, I'm not sure if you wanted to share anything. I did want to say to you, because I think I forgot to do it on LinkedIn. You just celebrated an anniversary with Tim Hortons. So happy anniversary on that. A lot of years dedicated to that ownership group and that brand. So congratulations to you on that. For those, Nasli and I work together in Winnipeg. She is one of the nicest people you will ever meet, but very intelligent lady, does a great job running her restaurants, and it was a pleasure to work with her. So Nasli, I just wanted to share that because I forgot to send that to you last week.
Thank you for the shout out, sir. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Well, listen, guys, I don't, Robert, I'm not sure if you got anything you want to add to the conversation. I know you had messaged Kaylee. I can make sure you get her contact information as well so that you guys can connect later. That's great.
But yeah, she's already done that. She's pretty quick. You can at her age and whatnot.
She definitely is very quick.
Sure, by the time I sign on tomorrow, I'll have all of her menus and pricing and everything else. No, all I wanted to say is thank you very much. I'm the first time on this call. Very interesting. I agree with everything everybody said. My end of the business is a little bit different. I work for a convention center, so we are in a different space of the hospitality and the food and beverage industry. I'm not going to get into that right now, but would love to come back to another one of these and actually have something to contribute. Right now, I really just wanted to meet everyone and find out if you guys were okay, and you seem okay.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate you being here tonight, Robert. Thank you so much. Doug, yeah, so. Sometimes we're really good. Sometimes we're a little off the rails, but we have fun, so it's all good.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and that's good too. We don't want any too straight and narrow. So
no.
Thanks very much for having me.
No, appreciate you being here. All right, guys, it is 5:55. We only had 5 minutes left. So if anybody has any last words they would like to share, I'll give you the opportunity now. If not, we will bid you all a very good evening. Stay warm, stay healthy, stay safe. I look forward to seeing you all at the next session. It won't be as late into February. I apologize. I let the month get away from me, but we'll be doing something around the 15th, maybe the 22nd of February. Give us some time here. If you have something you would like to see as a topic for Great Mind Sessions, please reach out to me. We're always looking for great topics that we can share and help this restaurant community grow, survive, and succeed. To all of you who are here who've been supporting Great Mind Sessions for the last year, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you all next month. And if there's anything you need from me, you know how to find me. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again. Take care.
Thank
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thanks,
Good night.
Darren.
You bet.
Thanks.